my pleasure to be here. As you can see, we will be talking about science communication. Here at ALBA, this is, let's say, 50% of the main things that we do at the office, and then the other 50% is devoted to public engagement or outreach that I will also briefly mention at the end of my talk. So, first of all, I should start by defining what science communication is, I guess. But this is not a simple thing, because as you can see here in this graph, in science communications, there are many actors involved, many relationships, dependencies, and it's not that easy. And as it happened in the previous talk, it's not, you don't have simple instructions of how to proceed. And also we have a second problem, and is that the discipline, the academic information is not still mature, and some concepts are still evolving, and different things are called in a similar way, so it's not always so easy to define and to understand. In fact, the main thing that I can say is that models are changing and are becoming a bit more open. So in the 90s, as you can see here in the first graph, the direction was, and the communication between scientists and the general public was still very top-down communication, one way. So scientists had the knowledge and they decided to share it with the general people who were ignorant in some specific fields. After that, some concerns raised about the attitudes between science and the general public. And nowadays, in the last 10, 15 years, they are working on more open models, trying to have a balanced relationship between scientists and the general public, and also trying to include the public inside science by citizen science projects. So, you know, this type of projects where general people may collect data through apps or different methods, and then scientists can use this data for their research. So this is changing bit by bit, but this does not mean that institutions or facilities are working in one model or another. In fact, in my case, at my office, I can identify that some of the things that we are doing are based on the so-called deficit model, the first one, but we are bit by bit changing a little bit more and trying to have this close relationship with the public. So I would mainly focus my talk on these points. First, I will try to give you some tools or try to identify communications opportunities at your facility. What of the things that you are doing can become news. Then the main element that you can use to prepare a news or to disseminate your research, which is a press release. And then after that, very briefly, I will mention other formats. So let's start. Does this mean that from now on, after this talk, you need to start preparing press releases, posting on social media, videos, and so on? My opinion is that no. I mean, science communication should be done by professionals, that is, people from your communications offices in your institutions. But you should be able, to identify those opportunities. So whenever you are working in a research project, whenever you have something that can be of interest, you should say, hey, this might be of interest of my colleagues, so I might contact them and we should prepare something. It's important for you to trust on them in the sense that they are working every day with media, checking the news, checking what type of things work, and some others not so much. So not all the contents are appropriate for all the supports or for all the media, so trust on their guidance. And also try to build this relationship. It's not good just to contact them once per year and that's it, till the next year. Try to keep them informed, send them emails, have some chats about what you're doing, and obviously, if possible, try to make their life simple. So try to use accessible language, despite that you may find some colleagues at the office that they can have scientific backgrounds, and this is normal. In my case, for example, I'm a journalist, so my background is purely from the humanistic side. But my colleagues, I have one colleague who has a degree on biology, and the other colleague has a degree on nanotechnology. So you may find people that they are able to talk your language, but they are not working 100% on that. So try to use simple language. And the most important thing, try to highlight the relevance for society of what you are doing. So you may want to communicate something that is relevant for the user community, but not for the general public. I will try to include a list here of the things that you may want to communicate to the general public, and you can use journalists to do so. So you can get in contact with journalists through the communications office whenever you have good scientific results. And more importantly, whenever you have scientific results that can have an impact on society. And that is, for instance, health. And this is an example that we published this summer, and I will come back later on. But also other fields like batteries, energy, information technology, industrial collaborations, things that are happening in our everyday life. Also, new things, cutting-edge technology, media, they are publishing many stories about astronomy, and this is not our everyday life, but they are interesting to us. So whenever you have something like this, you can communicate it as well. And when I say new, I mean new, because an article that has been published 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago is not new. It's not new anymore. So media is not that interested when this is the situation. Here I include one example, and I've been talk of this. This article was published by one of our users in summer. And it's an interesting highlight because it talks about celiac disease, which is something that affects a large group of people here in Spain. But we have been taught about this research just now, so 3 months later. And trying to communicate this now again, it's very difficult when we already have some inputs on media. So what I wanted to say with this is that whenever you have a notification of acceptance or something which is almost finished, try to contact them in order to anticipate and work in advance. More things that can be interesting for media, curious things, funny things, stories. And here I include one example that it's very famous, and this was published. Here I cannot see the publication date, but I think it's from 2015, so a long time ago. But still today, many people remember us the chocolate study, because this is something funny that you don't expect to find in a synchrotron facility. Or also many different studies related with cultural heritage. Here it's easy to sell to media because there's already one story behind. So when you explain the results of this research, then you also have to explain the story of this Chinese dynasty and so on. So it can attract the interest of them. Numbers and figures, anniversaries, this type of things are also easy to sell or can be of interest. And finally, events. Whenever you are organizing something, a meeting, you can invite media, ask them to come, make them participate, and then you may have impact on them. This also is not for granted. I mean, you can prepare all this material, you can send it to media, but then it cannot be published. But it's true that it's a good starting point. And I'm pretty sure that this is all happening in your institution. So you may believe, but this, I would not find this type of situations for sure. I'm pretty sure, at least in Alba, I can say that at least once per month, we can find many different opportunities to prepare this type of communications. What we do to identify these opportunities it's very basic, and it's something that you can adapt and create to your institution. But we try to follow up the experiments going on, and we use one weekly meeting that is in fact taking place now on Tuesday morning, which is the operations meeting, where many people all around the facility report on how the facility is going on, but also experiments. And here we try to detect, oh, this sounds interesting, or I will check the proposal. And this could be the starting point to have a chat with the users, the beamline responsible, or the local contact, and so on. Also, we have some alerts via the user office portal, or even through Google Alerts, just to have some information whenever we have a publication with data obtained at ALBA. If there are divisions meetings, it's also good to take part of it. I remember that in the past, the experiments division was organizing an informal monthly meeting, and that was also a good moment where to listen to colleagues where they were going, what they were doing at that moment. And in the end, having contact with your people. I mean, you scientists having contact with the communications team and so on. As I said, now we are moving to the second stage, the press release. No, the press release from a communications perspective is like the starting point. So the basic communications materials that you can prepare, and after that you may reuse it for other purposes. It will help you to promote your research for sure, because it's true that you will need to make an effort to translate and adapt scientific content into something that can be understandable for everybody. But it's a good summary that it may be useful later on for a call, for a report, for many other things. And as I said, whenever you have a press release, after that you can adapt it for social media. It could be a script for a video, many other things. Important, a press release is not a paper. So there are many differences, and you should know about it. A press release is something that must be short, 1.5 pages, no more. It's something that can be and must be understood by anybody. So it should not include scientific content, jargon, technical language. In fact, I include here this tool, the Jargonizer. I think I can show you. It's an interesting web page that it can help you to not to use technical words on your text. So here I have one example of the first part is the abstract of a scientific paper. And then the second is part of the press release. So here you can see that the level of complicated words is quite high for the general public. And here we leverage a little bit, not too much as you can see, but we leverage a little bit these complicated words. So you may use this type of tools. Also very important, press release usually does not follow the structure of a scientific journal. So you don't start with the title, abstract, introduction, methodology. No. You start with the important information and you go down. And then maybe at the end of the press release you will find part of the methodology, or maybe not. But it's important that you must get the full idea of the text by reading just the headlines. So you don't need to include anything as it is in a scientific paper. And in the end, it should be attractive. I mean, you may use all the stylistic resources that you can have, use metaphors, analogies, many different things to make attractive a text attractive that can be appealing for the reader. At the office, the Communications and Outreach Office here at ALBA, we try to follow this process. And I say try because it's not always possible, and then we need to go to one step or another. But at least the theory that we like to follow is this one. And first of all, for preparing a press release, we need to get the information. And to do so, we prepared a template some years ago, which is very, very simple. Sorry, the questions are a bit smaller, but as you can see, there are 5-6 questions that must be answered by the scientists, and they are: what's the result? What's the novelty on it? What are the applications of this research? What's the methodology? But I am interested in the methodology not because I'm using it on the press release, but because this is a way for me to know if the involvement of the beamline has been important or not, if there is any kind of collaboration going on between the users and the people from a facility and so on. And very important, the last questions: is the scientific team available for interviews? There's nothing worse than preparing a press release, and then when the media say, hey, yes, I'd like to go to your facility and I'd like to have an interview. No, he's not available. Come on. Then why are you sending me a press release? So this is really important. If you don't have this type of templates, even though it's even better, have a face-to-face interview. If you have time, this is also very good because you can have a short talk with the people in charge, and then you will get the maximum information. And with all this, you prepare a first draft. And then we need to validate it with the involved institutions. And here we also take care of taking into account people from other institutions or users, facilities, other synchrotrons involved, validate the text, and then whenever everybody agrees, translate it into different languages. Here at ALBA, all the press releases that we send to media, I mean those addressed to the general public, are prepared in English, Catalan, and Spanish. And after that, and also important, prepare the audiovisual material that goes with it. If you have a very big announcement, you may send it just a text, and that's okay because the information is good enough. But if it's something that it's okay, but I mean it's not the big discovery, you should use good audiovisual material, videos, nice images. So spend some time to prepare this as well. Then we send the press release to media. We wait for it, for their interest to come, and then at the same time we publish it in other corporate channels. And this is also important because our job does not finish here. I mean, we try to have this presence of media, but we may use also other formats, other supports that we have. And this is publishing this is how the press release looks like usually. And then we also publish it in our website, public website, but we may also post it in social media using or adapting videos. We may also publish it on the intranet, newsletters, podcasts, and many other things that you may have at your facilities. Just as a reminder, when to send a press release, if the content is newsworthy. Try to value that this is something that it can be of interest for the general public or not. And if it's the right moment, if you remember the story that I put at the beginning about the gene therapy, we published it, that was, if I'm not wrong, beginning of August. And we were having that, what are we doing? Are we sending now the press release? Because, it's summer and August in Spain, it's like a bit dead. Everybody's on vacation. But at the same time, there are no politicians, so the mediatic agenda is empty. They will need some contents. So in the end, we decided to go for it, and we published it on August, but then we did not have very good results. So try to evaluate when it's the good moment. Also send a press release if you have good visual material, and if your people is available for interviews. And finally, I would like to end with just one slide about other type of activities where you can promote your research, and that are public engagement activities, what we call outreach. And there are many different activities going on. Here I included just some of the things that we are doing at ALBA. Guided tours. Guided tours, we typically receive about 5,000 people per year. And they are organized in groups of 20, 25 people, more or less, and they go with one person from Alba. This is a very good opportunity to have a close contact with the general public and to listen to their concerns and to explain what you are doing. And in fact, they really appreciate that because they wanted to know in-person people working here. Also, open days, which is something that we tend to organize once per year. In fact, last one was 2019, and we will come back the next year if everything is okay. And this is also a nice opportunity to have this close contact with the public. But also, you can also participate in events not organized by your institution. I include here, we are now working on this, and this is an initiative of the local town hall here in Cerdanyola del Vallès, where we are based. And this is the first edition of this festival on science and literature that is being organized. And we are giving some speakers. We are hosting the inauguration event here. So there are many different things where you can take part. And take into account the educative community, I mean teachers and students. You can also inform and talk about your research in schools, like we do with this project Misión Alba, which is a project for primary school, where schools from all around Spain perform different experiments and have close virtual contact with our people, and also bringing scientists to the classrooms to explain what they are doing at Alba. This is all from my side, and in case you have questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay. Thank you, Annabelle. If there are any questions? Yeah.
I have a question and a remark. The question is, do you think that an international science management summer school is worth a press release?
Depending on the target you are thinking on. I mean, for the general public, you mean?
For example, in Spain?
I would say no.
Okay, it depends on how selling it. Okay, but that was the question. The remark is the Science Communication Office at the Canadian Light Source had also a different task, training officials, directors, and so, because the interaction with politicians is normally not your job, it's on a higher level, and talking to politicians is sometimes challenging, because press releases are in many cases too complicated for them. That means you have to go down to that kindergarten level or so, that they really understand what you are doing. Is that also part of your task here, making some training with Alexandro, the director, also the...
Not officially, let's say.
Yeah.
But no. Obviously, whenever there are this type of meetings or events or something like that, people from the management, especially Caterina, they may need communications tools to sell or to explain the project. And here is where we take part in, no? And when we try to prepare materials to make them easy. But it's true that we have not offered a formal training on that, but we give our advice, and obviously it will be very helpful.
It can be useful, because there was a training session for directors at the Canadian Light Source, how to interact with journalists, for example.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely, thank you.
Yes, by the way, we have a lot of politicians that are visiting us, so this is important. Our director, I mean, of course, Annabelle is always side by side with our director when visiting this kind of people. That is important in communication. Is there any other questions related with communications? I would like to point out that the communications is very important because the society should know what we are doing. Because if the society is aware of our activities, then it will be easier for the politicians to provide funding to our activities. So it's much more important than you may thought, because at the end, it's the closed loop of the funding loop, let's say. So it's very, very, very important. And also, this is a very important source for industries. The industries are sometimes contacting Annabelle just for visiting, and then we got this visit we're handling from the industrial office, and then there are many contacts through industry thanks to the visits. Okay, at the end, this may come out as a collaboration. Okay, so communication is very important. It's more important than we thought. Okay.